Hey everybody, welcome to season 2 of Shake Sales. My name is Sujan Patel. I'm one of the founders of Mailshake, and today we're speaking with Steve Schmidt, CEO of Magnet, a content-led sales consultancy.
Yeah.
Steve, nice to chat with you. I don't even know what this is. Tell me about what the heck is content-led sales.
Yeah. So I ran an agency. I kicked off an agency in 2020, and we were just call it a typical lead gen agency. We all thought we were special, but you lump them together and they're kind of the same thing. And we did $8.5 million in revenue in 18 months, and we had 114 customers, and it was a lot. And that's when I started to learn about things like email deliverability, content. I knew all of the cold call essentials. That was my strength. But LinkedIn content was certainly new to me. And when I looked at how I needed to grow the company, I looked at different areas of marketing, SEO, and I really had a conversation with Jake Dunlap at Scale that changed my perception of what I should be doing. And I said, Jake, I really, I'm coming to you because I found you on LinkedIn. Like, do you think that's a good idea? He goes, we're thinking about spinning up a service where we have ghostwriters. And I'm like, sounds great. He's like, how much? I said, how much? He goes, $4K a month. I'm like, whoa. Because I was a new entrepreneur. I'm like, $4K a month. I mean, seasoned entrepreneur right now, $4K a month is a lot of money. And I thought, well, how do we know it's going to work? And so long story short is the evolution of, call it experimentation video. I now look at content, and this will describe what we do in 3 categories, really. I'm like, content to me is the words that we put in text and voice format, outbound, bucket 1, 2, call it everything else on social that's organic. 3 is everything that's paid. That's it. I'm just like, there's 3 types. And then you get into like what those are, but a lot of businesses don't know a fraction of what we assume they might know because we've spent time on LinkedIn. There's probably 92% of businesses, I'm throwing a random Justin Michael stat out there. He always tells you to make one up that's not square on, just so it sounds more realistic. We can get more into that later too. They've never heard of this. They don't know it. Like they think LinkedIn Sales Navigator is an upgrade.
Yeah.
And so we're coming into this high level, like thinking everybody just operates like this, where I'm finding out as a consultant, these smaller, call it $2 to $10 million companies are more than happy to bring someone in who is going to not only explain LinkedIn content, podcast content, but they get into the nuts of saying all that really doesn't matter unless you have good messaging in general. And then you have really good sales messaging in your space. So it's really about getting through that, winding down, pretty much throwing everything they have away, redoing most of their tech stack. The first 2 months, podcast starts. And I'll use this example. One of our clients is in the 4th month of their phase, and they just launched their podcast last week. And we couldn't get into the CRO vertical. Emails were delivering strong on Mailshake, mind you. And we get decent responses, but we couldn't break into the funnel, and it was really stressing me out. And I was like, guys, I think that we need to go into CROs and Fortune 1000 with a podcast strategy. And it needs to be about where science and science and art. It's negotiations, 2 things. And if you focus on making it not boring, you might stand a chance at making a dent in trying to get people to want to listen to 20 seconds of a clip that comes from negotiation. And it was one of the more fun podcast episodes I've ever been on because it was the first hire ever in sales at Salesforce. He went through his whole career and how he negotiated not only his own pay raises, but deals and the stuff he lost out on. I was like, this is super interesting because it was just like storytelling the entire time. So we try to get them into the channel where they're going to perform the best. Usually it's podcast and email because phones can be very expensive, right? And so and both of those are content that we can make, call it memorable. So that's what Magnetic does. We do outbound delivery, if you will, but it's more overseeing it. We're not executing. We're not an SDR shop.
Cool. That's awesome. I love it. I love and you're also leading with value versus trying to ask for stuff immediately. So can you tell me a little bit about what Magnet EAT methodology is?
Yeah, the EAT methodology. If you look at that and peel it back, you got to break it down into how do we start to create a baseline where we can say, why are we doing this? And when we focus on, do you have expertise that anybody else would find valuable? Anybody would pay you money for, right? Sujan, if you know how to change my oil and I don't want to change it, I'm going to say, hey, how much do you charge? And you probably could tell me any amount that's reasonable, and I'd say, great. I wouldn't even negotiate. I'd just be like,
Mm-hmm.
can you change my oil? I hate getting under my car and all that stuff. So the expertise helps there. A is for authority. And then anytime you get about timing, it's just like, how can you have content that's everywhere? And
Mm-hmm.
then the third T is up for debate. We're going to be renaming that one right now. So we're just going to call it Eat with one T for now.
Perfect. Love it. And so, one of the things I noticed you guys do is really build trust early on. How do you build trust? I mean, so, I've been in sales and marketing for the last 20 years, and I feel like everyone has their different approach, but really building trust to me is key because
Mm-hmm.
you build that and everything else kind of stacks along with that. How do you build trust in the first meeting?
It's actually before that. So I'm glad you asked the question that way. I feel with content, we are now able to finally establish some baseline of trust very early on in an evaluation cycle. It's been proven out to the clients I work with. Month one, they're excited. Month two, they freak out. Month three, is this going to work? Month four, holy crap, somebody DM'd me on LinkedIn. It happened again. This person said they liked the podcast. So I think the content itself establishes trust before. Now, in terms of outbound language, I'm big into proof. Like, I don't do a lot of call to actions per se in my style. When I write emails, I use more proof, right? Here is this person. Here's where they started. Here was their goal. Here's where they ended. Some screenshots. I know that that's kind of frowned upon, but some visuals help for me.
Yeah.
I'm very selective about who we go outbound to. I mean, I'm only outbounded 1,000 people total in 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Because
That's a great number.
we're sold out. Like we have this luxury of being sold out and now going, do we scale? I go, why don't we just get really good at email? Then we'll think about scaling. Come
Love
up
it.
with a system that's so good, people will pay a premium for it.
I love it. I think, just you hit out some deal real quick on it, just point out. So pictures, and you can have 100 links in an email if you email 10 people, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the content of the emails and how much that matters really directly proportionate to the number of people you email. So if you email 10,000 people, you better have no links and personalized content for every one of those 10,000 people. You email 1,000 people, you can get less personalized. You can put more links and images and stuff. And
Yeah.
you email one person, you can write a freaking essay, right? I mean, no one's going to read that essay, but I love the fact that you're building trust in advance, right? That's actually the biggest ROI. I'd say I've been working on building my personal brand since 2014 consistently, like creating content every single day, and regularly publishing content some way or another. And the biggest thing I value, not even from sales, is like when I go meet someone up, I'm not just some random person. Like, you can look me up, or maybe they did by accident or on purpose or whatever. And like, trust is there. And I've established myself not just with trust, but as an expert. And it's, that's the E part of EAT is, and then you're doing that before the meeting, which is awesome. So we've like doubled down, and for us at Mailshake, like all of our sales team and even some of our CS team, they're building their personal brand. We live where we play where our customers live, which is LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And they're coming in with trust to their inbound sales meeting, and it's game changer. Biggest thing is lower no-show rate. I think there's like 15% reduction in the no-show rate. Just like,
what about deal cycle time revenue? Are you finding those comparisons are bigger when they're coming from called social?
We've kind of simultaneously been moving up market, so I can't tell you. Like, I think it's the same, but maybe that's a benefit. Maybe that is shorter because our deal cycles have gone, like our deal value has doubled. So I don't know, like, maybe in the next year or so I can play that out.
That's interesting. I mean, and not to be anti-attribution, it's good that people don't dig in the weeds right away too. I think at some point it's really good for outbound teams to start to attribute what's working. I mean, they have trouble doing it with email even. I mean, we all talk about A/B testing. We all talk about A, B, C, D, Z testing.
Yeah.
But how many people really do it effectively? And I'll give you an example of an observation I made. And this is, maybe it's a dramatic viewpoint, but I was watching somebody go through a list and they were calling, and I won't say what dialer they were calling off of. And the dialer like messed up. They go, I'll just reset it. I said, well, doesn't that cut out like 17 people? And they go, whatever. And I was like, what if one of those 17 people were the person who bought the largest deal that company ever had, and it changed the trajectory of that company? And that's when I knew I thought differently than everybody else, because I cared enough to go,
Yeah.
oh, I don't need to hide that. I don't want, oh, I'll just make some fluff dials. I'll just hit send all. I was like, no, man, I'll stay up till midnight writing one-off emails if it means that the result will be bigger. And then if I need to do it again, I'll scale it out. Like, I have to do everything myself first until I want to pull my hair out to figure out if we should even adopt it. And then if I go, oh, you want email? Well, we're going to run it on Mailshake. We're going to alternate domains. You're going to have 5 of them. No more subgrouping than 500 at a time. Sequence expires, domain shelf for a month. Like, rotate appropriately to your own internal TAM of how much of a footprint you have. And when I talk to people about it, their eyes just roll back in their head. They're like, wow. And I'm going, trust me, I am not the email guru. I hire people to do it because it can be technical. And nobody really knows. Nobody can come out with a study that says, hey, I delivered this sequence with Mailshake, this one with Mailshake with the same subject line, this one without, this one on Gmail, this one on Microsoft, this. And you go down the list and people go, I don't have the time to figure out whether or not email warming helps. Let's just assume that putting your shoes on in winter also helps you stay warm.
Yeah.
It's a similar concept. Is it going to keep you from freezing? Well, how freaking cold are you going to get? Like, how much are you going to walk into the blizzard before your dumbass turns around? We're out there spamming people going, yeah, this doesn't work.
Yeah, no, exactly. I love the fact that with deliverability in general, to me, it's a preventative. Efforts to prevent an issue are 100 times more impactful than fixing the issue. Because once you're in the doghouse, you've got to get out, right? And there's anecdotal evidence on all of these things because none of these email service providers, the email deliverability stuff, they're all trying to catch like phishing emails and real spam, right? Although like the spray and pray approach obviously doesn't work. They're trying to catch the real fraud, right?
Yeah.
And when we start to look like that as salespeople, that's the point where you probably are emailing too many people or whatnot. And, to kind of go back to like that, like small list of folks that you go after, just because we have automation that can help us as humans do less manual tasks, that doesn't necessarily mean automation and volume coincide. Like, those are different things. Automate for one person if you need to, but like, you don't need to email 10,000 people generally in any sector. It's much better received at like a couple hundred people chunks. But
I found that the Justin Michael method, and Jed mentioned it on your show last week, is probably my best delivered email.
Interesting.
Because of the brevity, right? Hyper relevance, 50 words or less. Like, it doesn't get me in spam trouble. And just for that, like, it's obviously how Justin constructed it. I think it's a lesson we can all take in terms of like, oh, those are also steps.
Yeah.
That while on Mailshake, delivering while being warm, used first email under 50 words, hyper relevant. So no one even really knows it would be quote unquote spam, because it's so brief. It definitely looks personal. And I think the key with that first one is, gosh, we're really not that great at sounding simple.
That's true. That's a good point. I think, and we'll link to the episode in the show notes here. So wherever you're watching, there'll be a reference point. I want to move on to the T of EAT. So what is the importance of T, and how do you create content with that perfect timing?
Timing to me is two different things. We all know that when we see a brand and it has a commercial, like, they've had to build up enough money to buy that commercial. That's kind of why we trust them blindly, right? Oh, Crest, they make toothpaste. New toothpaste brand buys a commercial. Oh, interesting. Well, they're marketing, right? And so when we think about timing, I segment it the same. I look at, when do my posts perform the best? How much should I? I was doing 3 posts a day for a while there. It actually dropped my content performance. The algorithm was like, this guy's not good enough to get up anymore. So I went from 10,000 views a day in 2022 to 2,000 in 2023 by just experimenting, because I just don't really care, right? Like, someone has to experiment. It may as well be me. And so I think that the timing is, are you going to be at the right place at the right time? And so we all know that's the trust and content piece. So timing is, if you're there when they already know you, then naturally their timing is their timing.
Mhm.
Like you just have to be there. And salespeople are really bad at wanting to wait, right? We want to go, I need this now. You should do it early. You should leave them early because da da
Mhm.
da. Well, if the pain's big enough, they might do it. But I think that timing is lots of content like you since 2014, all the time. Does it get tiring? Hell yeah. Yeah, there's days you
Yeah.
just want to quit and just be like, this isn't worth it. And you realize pretty much that's how you get leads. And if you quit, you would have to go back to cold calling.
Mhm.
And so for me, it's a non-negotiable. 100% of my business now will come from LinkedIn. And so I think that you're seeing that same success with Jed, Maggie, yourself getting out there. I mean, Mailshake is now a brand that people recognize when you put it next to Outreach and Sales Loft. That did not happen from paid ads. I've never seen a paid ad by you guys. Never
Yeah, I
once.
don't think we spend. I think we spend like, I don't know, $500 a month on paid ads, and that's just like
Yeah.
maybe pushing a webinar or something.
Yeah. And so there you go. That's the case study, right? How many
Yeah, thank you.
can you disclose what's your revenue a year?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to guess it's around 10 million. $1,000 a month spend on, call it somewhere between 5, 10, maybe more. That is becoming so common. And I think it's a choice, right? You could go advertise. It's a different way to market where
Mhm.
you guys have this organic, like you guys are the people's people. Like people are
Yeah.
coming in being like Mailshake and they're like, yeah, screw these guys. I want Mailshake. And
Yeah.
part of that comes with that organic effort because then it feels real instead of forced upon you by marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So Steve, I feel, first of all, thank you so much for those words. That everything you described is exactly what we've been trying to go for, which is feel authentic and like we are salespeople talking about sales, not and in the trenches alongside our customers. Like we do it, Jed's talking about all this stuff, Maggie's talking all types of content. And they both are
They're
salespeople. They're
awesome.
not actually marketers, right? And thank you. So my takeaway from your timing comment is really it's not timing, it's consistency and 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 really start today, be consistent, right? Fast forward. Like I can't tell you. So, Mailshake's brand on LinkedIn is pretty early. Of course, we just started, frankly, like maybe 9 months ago.
Mhm.
And 9 months ago, we were doing a really bad job. Now I'd say we're doing an okay job. I've got high standards, but we don't have that many, we don't get that many impressions. But like even on like we look back at like even like a 200 or 400 impression post generated a lead or two.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's such a like that's a number that matters, right? Like fast forward now 9 months, now we don't even know how many what does what. We just are consistent and it's just working.
Everything all the time. What percentage of your leads would you say are coming from the LinkedIn effort?
I think like probably around like 5 to 10%, somewhere in that number.
It's a pretty big
We
amount.
Yeah, and so we've got a huge. So I'd say 2/3 of our leads come in from inbound, like SEO, Google, our brand, what have you. Direct type in. So
Yep.
we had 0% of the leads come in from LinkedIn 9 months ago. Zero, maybe one, right? Like it's not even a number that you can count. So we're like 2/3 outbound. I mean inbound. 20-25% outbound, and the rest, LinkedIn, and that was zero before. So like 9 months in, great ROI. I'll just tell you like our costs. We spend less than $5,000 a month on content combined. We actually, this is proof that the content led sales works. We actually stopped doing all of our inbound marketing, all of our content marketing off of LinkedIn. And we said, screw this. If our customers are here, and frankly, if you're selling to B2B, my 2 cents is your customers are generally there on LinkedIn. We get better results. Our blog gets, I don't know, like 400,000 visitors a month,
That's awesome.
generates this less leads than LinkedIn does. So, and we're babies on LinkedIn. So anyways, proof that this stuff works and
Inspiration.
consistency matters. Yeah.
Well,
So
that's how I learned about you guys. Jed reached out to me before SaaStr last year, and I knew who he was. It's the whole like I know this guy's face back when he had his black and white photo. I'm like he used to play basketball. He's
yeah,
tall, and he was like putting a get together there, and I'm like, oh, this guy's cool. I couldn't make it. I went like back Holland. And I went and grabbed coffee quick, and all of a sudden like 3 months later, I'm like hearing his name everywhere. Everybody's like, hey, Jed Marley, and I'm
yeah,
like also not to take away from like Jed going to a SaaStr event, creating the Mailshake buzz just organically again by meeting people for coffee versus a booth. And then people were walking out of SaaStr talking about Mailshake and Lavender and the people who didn't have the booth. So
Yeah.
kudos to you guys
Yeah.
for keeping sort of that 1-to-1 or 1-to-a-few or 1-to-a-few mini vibe versus at this point, sponsoring a booth and throwing 20K away and crossing your fingers.
Yeah, thanks, man. And honestly, we can't afford a booth. We're bootstrapped. Like we make like ROI from a booth. Our ACV, our deal value. We're SMB, kind of lower mid market.
Yep.
Booth doesn't make sense. Like we need to get like 500 leads to cover costs, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, but that's honestly that day I walked around with SaaStr with Jed, and that was the day I was like, we're doubling down on LinkedIn because I'm walking around the booth, just walking around, and Jed, every 10 seconds, someone's like, are you Jed? I've been following you on LinkedIn. Like that phrase. Yeah. And this guy was like literally signing autographs, kissing babies, like the whole time.
Story. Yeah. He's like the little, like, oh.
And so Jed's like 6 foot something, and I'm I'm like closer to 5'0". And so I feel like I'm like his little child, just walking around, following him around, and we're kind of the opposite in age. But it's really funny that he's just he's literally a celebrity from. Yeah. I started following and kind of stalking Jed to try to hunt him down 2 years ago when he started LinkedIn. So he's only 2 years in, and he went from SDR to like director of sales from LinkedIn. Like I only wanted to hire him because I knew he was good. Anyways, we can go on that. So let's wrap up. What do people do if they don't have time for this, or a person doesn't have time for this?
I think the easiest thing to do is, if you have an iPhone, go to your camera and record something. You may never publish it, right? But go download a simple app called Captions. I think it does cost money, so maybe there's a free one in there, but I know Captions. It is as easy as any tutorial. Once you upload it, it kind of says like, do you want captions? And you'll be like, oh, this is what Alex Hormozi does all his editing. Yeah. You soon see that, yes, you can easily make a micro clip and have a lot of the trimming done for you and get pretty good. I mean, that's how I got decent at it the first 3 months, is hacking at it. I'm not an Adobe creator, like whatever. I got a team of people who do that, thank God. But it is worthwhile to do it. And then if you graduate, like I have a selfie stick, so where I would never get one, they actually come in handy. I have 2 traveling little loom lights just because I'm that asshole now in the parking lot walking around like filming TikToks. And I just don't give a shit because I'm 45 and like my best years are both behind me and ahead of me. And so I guess for me, I have found that the creativity making content, at least for me, taps into something that gets me through the tougher stuff and keeps me very, very excited about work every day. And so that's why I do it, not for the money, not for anything else. That's why I went from a 52-person lead gen shop to a 1-person, call it content creator studio for go-to-market people. And, love it. And where that goes, don't know. I'm having a freaking blast right now, and we're making money, 0 attrition. People are already starting to upsell and renew, and that just didn't happen. At the end, we had 68% attrition in lead gen. So it just feels
tough market. Yeah.
It's a very tough market. Yeah.
Because everyone's doing lead gen. Very few are doing this. And I feel like with this, let's just say everyone tomorrow started doing this. Well, the best make it out, right? The longest make it to the top, right? You've been testing, you get that experience. So you know more than we're gonna learn what you know in the next year. By that time, you'll be ahead of us. So anyways, Steve, thank you so much. I love how it's like you just literally, how do you start? Start taking a video of yourself, right? And there's a free app or like, I don't know, $5. Like, come on, like it's probably not more than that. It does all the work for you. And my 2 cents, I learned this from marketing and launching software businesses. If you're not embarrassed by your first video, like 6 months from now, if you are embarrassed about that, you are doing the right things.
Yep.
I launched an ebook, I don't know, in like 2015 on the key on growth hacking. And back in the day, that was like kind of the buzz. Yeah. And I was in marketing. And so naturally we're doing a lot of growth hacks and whatnot. Anyways, I launched this thing, and it was the ugliest thing. It cost me $1 to produce. It was Microsoft Word and $1 stock photo. And honestly, I left this like 1 page. It's somewhere in the first 10 pages with lorem ipsum content. because it was like this transition between the table of contents and like the actual like intro, and no one noticed. No one
Oh,
freaking
wow.
noticed. Because I mean, who reads
No.
who reads all this stuff? They just skim through they just get started, right? So anyways, that was the most embarrassing thing ever. That was after I sold 30,000 copies, right? So
Wow.
like and it was just luck, timing, lots and lots of effort, just putting myself out there. But anyways, this is not about me. Steve, thank you so much for your time. If
Thank you.
folks, my 2 cents is if you've got the budget, go hire Steve's company. We'll link to it here. It's a magnet, and just get started. It's a consistency and timing game. So the longer you do it, the more ROI you get.
Amen.
Thanks, Steve. Take
Thank you.
care.